evening, and welcome to yet another episode of Dear Man. As usual, we're happy to have you around, and we're happy to always come share good tips, good hacks. Get interactive, share about relationships and marriage. And today wouldn't be any different. Now, last week we started a discussion about some things that um, we usually do and might not necessarily see what the impact is. And so last week we were discussing about having spouses sleep in different rooms, and this week we have yet another. Go out there, share the feed and let your friends know that we're live. And so I'm doing right that. Yeah, we are live. Yep. And today, what is becoming the usual, I have Prissy here with me and to come deliver some few hacks. Yeah, and then we'll take it from there. And so today we want to look at something that might not necessarily seem harmful and might not necessarily seem like a big deal in relationships or in marriage. And it is, so let me paint a nice picture about this. So you would have a spouse who wants to tell the other spouse something, and just because the person sees the spouse available, the other spouse who has something to say will just go ahead and want to start saying whatever. Now, the challenge with that is depending on what the frame of mind the spouse is in or what the person is going through at a particular point, then you would be bound to get a particular response or a particular feedback. Hey, Kate, it's good to see you. So today we want to actually delve into that, look at what is the best approach towards this. Just think about it. So in the past, and I don't know who actually instituted that, but you would hear of couples maybe waking up at 4 a.m. or something to talk about issues. I don't know whoever brought that. I mean, if I am a very tired husband and I'm asleep and you come wake me up at 4 to talk about something I might even think is trivial, that would be quite challenging. Prissy, have you also heard about that 4 a.m. thing? And what do you think was the rationale behind that?
Yeah, so usually when you go for engagements, so I don't know where they got that from. Is it Ochiami that says that, or they are
Oh,
like, if you have um something to discuss with your spouse, or you want to resolve an issue with your spouse, you should wake your spouse at dawn and have that discussion. And for me, personally, I'm not a dawn person, so I don't know how
right,
effective communication will be at dawn. Because when
right.
I wake up, I'm in a rush to do a lot of things. I have to
Yeah, yeah.
do so many things, so I don't know. And I don't think Van is also the type that I can wake him up at dawn and have a
No, no,
discussion
no, no,
with him.
no. That would be calling for trouble.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I
Okay.
I don't know, but I think that the reason
Mhm.
why they say that is because at dawn, you are usually alone with your partners. So maybe in isolation, you want
Yeah,
to discuss issues and
yeah.
not when people are around. I think that is why they use that timing, but I don't
Right,
think it works for everyone. It will work for some people, but not everyone.
right, right. Yeah. Kate, yeah, great to see you. Great to have you on as well. And so, viewers, when we come on, let us know. And as usual, just put in whatever your contributions are there, and then it will help the discussion. Okay, so Prissy, you mentioned something about a positive about why people would want to do that at dawn. I mean, have those discussions are done. And thinking through it, I think there is some positives to pick up from there. I mean, it is just maybe the rationale is that when you want to have any discussion or you have something on your mind, it should be done when you two are together. And my guess is that, I mean, usually you have children around and playing around, and so you want to actually discuss such issues at a time when, I mean, it's more like it's just the two of you. But the other question is that, assuming it is something critical to discuss, for example, I mean, do you have to wait till dawn? Obviously, no, right? So I am thinking that the positives are there for us to grab from that, but we shouldn't necessarily end up, I mean, say that, okay, there is something, and there is something I have to discuss with you, and there is something I have to discuss with you, and at 4 a.m. you go to wake someone's child up, I mean, to discuss, I mean, whatever it is. Now, do you think that, aside the 4 a.m. thing, right, people should be circumspect about when they actually raise issues, I mean, or when they bring up issues to be discussed? What do you think? Do you think it should be anytime they feel the other spouse is available, or they should really be calculative about that?
Yeah, so depending on the topic you want to discuss, you should attach a little of emotional intelligence. So if you
Right.
know that it is something that might get your partner angry, you should look
Yeah.
at the timing. Make sure that your partner is in a very happy mood before you go discuss a topic that can like easily get the person angry. Because
Oh,
if the
so
person
so so hold on,
is
Prissy. So what you're saying is that when the person is happy, rather go destroy the person's mood, and then
no, you know, when people are in their best of mood, it's easier for them to reason with them. But if somebody is in a stressed mood and you go adding something that would add additional stress,
yeah,
you might be saying the right thing, but
yeah,
the timing is wrong. So you might not get anything out of it.
right,
So the timing matters a lot. You have
okay,
to be smart about it. Sometimes it's something harmless, but
yeah,
then the timing. So
yeah,
timing is very important. Look at the person's mood, even the environment you are going to tell the person. Are there friends around? Some people are not smart. They wait to say things when outsiders are around, or even the children are around to hear, and instantly the person will become defensive. You get
right,
it? So you have to
right,
also look at the surrounding or the environment. It also
right,
matters. Yeah, you have to find a time where the two of you are alone before you
right.
raise certain issues. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. And Kate is saying that I guess people think they will have your full attention, but I think it's rather ineffective. Yeah, so I think Kate has brought something very, very important. So it's more like that is the time people are not necessarily doing anything, but they are sleeping. It's something,
Yeah.
you know. So I guess that's the reason why people would want to discuss our things at night, like maybe 4 a.m. It's like you are not really doing anything, so you can listen to me. And then Kate is saying that I am more sleepy and want to get off the conversation, so might say anything to end the conversation. That is
Yeah.
absolutely true. So you say whatever, and I go like, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, we'll work on it. And I wouldn't even have listened to whatever you say. Yeah,
Sometimes they won't even remember.
exactly, yeah. So the person goes back to sleep, wakes up, and goes like, oh, but have you forgotten what we discussed? Is it, oh, what did we discuss? I mean, and that is wasted time. Okay. Oh, someone says that I think it's very effective. When I was a kid, my mom used to whoop me when I do anything, but during that 4 a.m., no matter what, you pay attention to the situation. unless it is someone who is very okay with waking up at dawn or something. But really, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It's not like it's not good, but personally, I don't think it really makes
And
sense. Yeah.
I also feel that if you don't take care, you might spoil the person's mood the entire day, because you wake the person up at dawn and the person gets angry. It has a
Yeah.
ripple effect on every other thing the person does that
Right.
day. So I would even rather defer it to probably the night,
Okay.
and then when the person is angry, the person at least sleeps over it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Right.
at dawn, honestly, I feel that is a bit more risky.
Yeah, more like a punishment. Okay, so Karen says that some of us are okay anytime, but I can't be waking up in my sleep. Exactly, Karen. I mean, I'm trying to sleep. We aren't saving the planet from an asteroid. Yeah, absolutely. There are things that, and that is what really triggers a lot of people. You wake me up from my sleep, come discuss something that I thought is so trivial. I mean, it could actually have waited. So is that why I lost my sleep? And so sometimes that also becomes a challenge. But I have a question then. I mean, to all of us out there, don't you think that we might get into a situation where things wouldn't get discussed because it's more like people are busy almost all the time, right? And so if you are sleeping and I can't call you in your sleep and all, then when at all can I call you? You get what I mean? Because, for example, I know some, and sorry, if you are a Manchester United fan, because of today's results, by now you are so angry. And so when can your spouse then speak to you? Prissy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so like I said again, you know your
Mm-hmm.
spouse's mood. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
can tell. I know Van, if he's in a very happy mood, when he
Mm-hmm.
sees me, you call me pretty baby. I know that
Yeah.
Van is very on occasions
Right.
when he wants us to do serious discussion, or he's really like very serious, you go like Prissy. So you definitely know your partner, when how they behave when they are in certain moods. So for me, if I know that what I want to talk about is something that is can change his mood, I'll wait till he's in the PCBB mood, and
Yeah.
then we'll discuss it. Yes,
Right.
but then if it's something out of the ordinary, something that we can just talk about anytime is fine. But for the very sensitive ones, I would look at the mood and then talk. And then sometimes too, some people will ask you certain questions. Your spouse goes to work and the person is very busy at work. Then you go ask the person certain questions like, where did you keep the bread? Where, everything gets angry. So you should also look at the timing. If
Right.
you have to eat bread and you have to defer eating bread and eat something else, it's fine. But not in the middle of
Right.
the day when you know that your spouse is busy at work and his mind is on something else, and you go ask him, did you keep the bread in the fridge, or buy me this when you're coming
Yeah.
home? You can wait. Look at maybe
Yeah.
when it's close to when he closes, or he just closed, before sending certain messages, because the
Right.
timing is very important.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point you made there. I mean, because sometimes the person is stressed at work, right? And you there is something you feel is so important to you, right? And you go in, say the person is in a meeting and things are not really going how it should go, and then you come in with bread matters. I mean, why? How on earth, or what kind of response do you expect at that point? And I think that the timing thing you mentioned is really critical because most times, right, someone might be angry about something and will really want it discussed now, you know. do you have any hacks or something if a spouse is angry about something and really wants it discussed? How should that spouse try to contain himself or herself and then try to defer it? What do you think about that?
Okay, so for me, if I know Van is angry about something and I'm not ready to, I'll just, sometimes I know it gets irritating, but I'll just make a joke out of it and say, "Oh, okay, let's try, and I'll say something that would make him not want to go further in discussion, so that we can defer it." Yes, so that's
Okay.
my trick. Or maybe he brings an idea and I don't like it. And I know Van, if I tell him I don't like it, he will ask me. Van is like a lawyer. You have to give him all the legalities of why you don't want it. So
Right.
I'll find a funny thing. Like, we're looking at a house one day and he was like, "I like this house." Then I told him, "I don't want it. This one looks like Snow White and the Seven Dwarf house." And I started laughing. So when I did that, I know that he will not even prefer that to ask me that, "Tell me this and this and this and this." And he just left it because he knew that with me, when I start that, we can't go any further. I'll just make a joke out of it. So that is how I am able to defer certain matters. But I don't know, maybe there are others with other ways they try to defer certain conflicts, because sometimes differing conflicts is also important.
Yeah.
Maybe at
Yeah.
that instance, if you say something, it might get
Yeah.
blown out of proportion. So
Right.
you try to defer it when you are both in your right frame of mind, or you have been able to think properly into it. Then you can go on and then discuss it.
Yeah, that's a very good one. And viewers out there, if you have any trick or any hack um, in how to defer things that you don't want to talk about, I mean, you can share that as well. And I agree. I mean, deferring conflicts, no discussions, are things that we should also get acquainted to, or we should become experts at, because there are times that, of course, your spouse wouldn't know your frame of mind, right? And you might be thinking about something very serious and your spouse doesn't know about it, right? And so when your spouse comes up with something he or she thinks that this is really critical and needs to be addressed, then you should have a way you are able to push that aside, no matter how nagging the person wants to be and wants to have it discussed right then. You should have a way you push that aside and then pick it up later. I mean, sometimes you don't even go back to them at all, right? So I feel it's also a skill that is worth developing, right? Because if depending on what your frame of mind is at a point, it could be something very harmless, but because you are not even in the mood to critically think about what the person is raising, you would actually give the worst answer possible, right? And so if your other spouse is not able to figure or decode and know that, okay, this is the right time to speak, then you yourself should also find a way to actually lay that aside and then come to it later on. Because otherwise, very crucial things that need to be addressed might also find their way just cancelled, or I'm not talking about the deferment, but you wouldn't get the right response to it because,
Mm-hmm.
of course, the person is not really willing and available at that particular point in time. Yeah. So, Prissy, my next question is that, is it everything that really needs to be discussed, like raised? Because I have come to see that there are things that might be important to one party and not necessarily important to the other party. Do you think there are things that you just keep quiet about and just move on?
Again, the emotional intelligence comes in. So
Okay.
if you know your spouse, you know
Mhm.
things they can take, you know things they cannot take. So ideally, you should be able to discuss everything with your partner.
Right.
But if you know that this person cannot take what you are going to say, then sometimes you just have to let some things go. It is
Okay.
not everything that you have to um, iron them out. You just
Okay.
have to, even in that's why we do a lot of compromising in marriage. There are some things that you may not necessarily like them, but you feel that talking about it might not really end up resolving anything. So you just let it go.
But would that not create a situation where you bottle up a lot of things and then at a later time you just blow out because you are not able to handle all of that?
That is why I said again that emotional intelligence, you probably have said it numerous times. It hasn't worked. And what makes you think that this time around, when you say it, it will work?
Okay.
You get it. So if it's something new that you want to talk about, but you've realized that you've spoken about this thing several times, it's not working. It's sometimes you just have to let it go. You
What
don't.
if in your mind it is very, very important? The other spouse might not be seeing it that way, but in your mind it is very, very important. How do you treat it? Because letting go would also make you restless because you feel that this is really, really important and needs to be discussed. The other spouse doesn't think so. How do you go about it?
It's a difficult one,
Okay.
but if it really matters, I don't know what it is that you want to discuss, but if you feel that you
It
have
really matters, then you
done
call. Okay.
everything possible to make the person see reason why they need to listen to you and it's not working,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe if there's somebody the person listens to, because there are some people who have people they listen to, they might not always listen to you. That is fine. You can bring the person in, but for me personally, I don't. I would rather let it go.
Right.
But if you feel it is very important to you, because sometimes you also need to, depending on the situation you are in, you might also need to probably come out and speak to someone. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So Kate is saying that knowing your spouse is essential. Yeah, I really think so. I mean, because it, you if you don't know how someone would respond, you don't know how, I mean, what triggers the person and all, then yeah, it's quite difficult to even know when to get the timing right. So Kate, I really agree with you. And based on Kate's comment, then Prissy, do you think that it is more difficult managing this earlier in a marriage or in a relationship than when you like live for years and you can really tell what their response would be and what the triggers are for your spouse?
Okay, so I feel that early in the marriage, because you are now getting to know each other, that
Mm-hmm.
is actually the time that you have to let the person know what you can take and what you cannot
Okay.
take. Because if you keep quiet over it early in the marriage and then you raise it later in the marriage, it will look like you have changed or you are changing. Yes. So
Okay.
this is the time we are all trying to get to know each other. This is the time that we
Right.
call the storming stage.
Right.
So if you have
Right.
any problem, you let it out.
Right.
Let the person know that you don't like this, you hate that, you shouldn't rather bottle it in you and wait till maybe you are 10 years in marriage. Then you remind your spouse that 10 years ago you did this to me. And no, I feel the right time is at the early stage. You have nothing to lose. You just started, and you just have to lay everything bare and let the person know that I don't like this, I like this, I don't want this. And then with time, if you realize that this one is not someone I can change, then you know that okay, then there isn't much I can do about it. So at this point I have to compromise.
Okay, but this is also what comes to mind, Prissy. If at the beginning of your marriage, right? You're trying to have a good marriage. I mean, you're all putting in the effort and all. I am thinking that you might rather be tempted at that point not to necessarily say everything that comes to mind. You know, because you don't want to spoil it. You don't want to mar a beautiful thing. You get what I mean? So I'm thinking that the temptation is greater at the beginning of the marriage to try to, okay, I mean, that's fine. Okay, no problem. No, because I am also tempted to think that the reason why marriages are nicer and sweeter the longer the couples or the spouses stay together is because at that point there's really nothing to hide. Like everyone is free. You go out with whatever is in your mind. You just say it as it is. So don't you think that because of the temptation to try to protect something nice at the beginning, people would try not to say whatever comes to mind?
Yeah. It also happens even in the relationship stage.
Right.
So
Right.
I was chatting with somebody and the person told me that people marry and they said their spouses have changed. They don't have time for them again and all that. And I'm like, yes, because those times they were campaigning
Yeah.
and one
Right.
election,
Yeah.
they don't need to
Yeah.
do anything again. And I feel that when you get used to the person, the familiarity sets in now.
Yeah.
So now you are not afraid to lose the person. You are afraid but not afraid because you feel
Right.
like, okay, the person has nowhere to go. You are
Right.
stuck with me forever. So let me just say whatever I have to say.
Mm.
And again, it's marriage. So at the beginning, for me, I believe that, and I am one person. You can ask Van, I cannot pretend.
Mm.
So if there's anything worrying me, I just say it. And I don't, at that instant, yeah, you might be hurt, but I believe that when you say it and the person is angry, sometimes the person goes back to sit down and reflect over what you
Right.
said. Was it really true? Is this how I am? After reflection, you see changes.
Right.
Because the person might not agree instantly with you, but when you go and sit down, reflect over it, okay. Yeah. So as for the how do you call it? Saying that you don't want the person to be angry, the anger will come immediately, but it's better that way, that the person gets angry and goes to sit and reflect, and then you get the thing sorted quickly, than harboring it, and
Yeah.
then the thing gets worse, and then later in life you start quarreling over it, and you be like, so all this while
Yeah.
you didn't like this thing and you were pretending, and that's what the person will feel, that you
Right.
pretend. No.
Right.
So for me, I believe in letting it out early. Let's see how we can resolve it. Get angry, yes, get mad. I am okay. But then I want you to reflect over it, and then we can sort it out.
Right. Okay. So to all new couples out there, don't be afraid to muddy the waters. I mean, say it as it is, because you're going to live with the person for God knows how long, right? So whatever you are uncomfortable with, let the person know. Then you can start making it's easier to make the adjustments at the early stages, right? So let the person know, you make your adjustments, and then you move on. Then you that way you are also getting to know the person more. I mean, whatever the likes and dislikes are, and so on and so forth. I think it's been. I always find it difficult when I have to cut short the conversation because time is up. I mean, but I know that it's a Saturday. You have other things to do as well out there. So thank you so much for staying with us, for all your comments, for all the interaction, and we'll come your way again next week with yet another thought-provoking episode. And so it is us signing out for now. And as usual, always remember that no two relationships are the same. And so it's bye for now. Thank you and cheers.
Bye.
Look at the the sources of financial pressures. Now, we've identified two main sources of financial pressure. So the first one being internal, that is internally generated in the marriage, and the one that is without, the externally generated ones. What makes you two happy, and not allow the pressure of having to impress everyone have a toll on your marriage? For example, if what you can afford is a single room somewhere, what matters is that you are happy, basically, and not what will my friends say, what will my family say, what would everyone say, apart from what would my spouse say.
Having kids is like having little bosses at home. They control what you do.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to control kids.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to handle them.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of pressure, especially if you are not that used to taking care of